Okay, recording resumed. Yes, so if you don't mind just keeping yourself on mute because it's getting recorded, but absolutely feel free to use the chat box. I'll be keeping an eye out on that, so you can feel free to type in any questions, and then we'll have a little Q&A at the end as well, because I love a discussion. Oh, there's still people coming in. Hi, Amy, how are you? Okay, so I'll just get started. So my name is Gemma, if you don't already know me. My name is Gemma Gilmore. And tonight I'm going to be presenting to you a webinar called Thriving Mind, Thriving Business, Harnessing the Power of Your Mindset. So primarily this is for business owners, but if you're not a business owner, not a problem. You're still going to find this really helpful, hopefully. So welcome everyone, and thanks again for coming along. I really do appreciate it. Okay, so I found this visual the other day and I thought, how perfect. Can anyone resonate to this? With this image of a day in the life as an entrepreneur? Like, you're like, I'm excited, this is so good, I'm going to create this, and then you're like, oh, this is really hard, and then it's working, and then it's like, oh my god, I messed up, and then it just goes up and down like that. Give me a yes in the chat box if this resonates with you. It certainly resonated with me. Hi Manwen, how are you? Lovely to see you. Stephanie's giving a thumbs up. Yeah, you're just like, everything's great, everything sucks, everything's great, everything sucks. And it can be a real emotional roller coaster, right? Like when we're in this place of highs and lows in the life of being an entrepreneur. And what I want to do in this webinar is to show you how you can manage your thoughts and feelings so that we're not on this horrible zigzaggy line, and we're not doing this emotional roller coaster, so that you have a tool by the end of this webinar, a practical tool. I'm a Virgo, so I like practicalities. I want to teach you a tool that you can walk away with that will help you. Let's create a bit more of an even keel, a more stable line rather than an up and downy line. So yeah, that's my mission for this hour with you. So I'm going to make this super short because I recognize so many of you and all your names that you can't, I think most of you know me, but for those who don't, just really quick, my story is I am certified as a quantum leap coach. And if you don't know what that is, neither did I until I received the certification. Basically, I've had very specific training in being a transformational coach, mindset coach. I can teach you how to shift your state so that you can handle whatever life throws at you at the same time as becoming like the architect of your life. So rather than sort of just responding and reacting to your external circumstances, purposefully and intentionally creating what you want. I'm also a trained behavioral analyst. I spent 15 years working in the field of autism with autistic children, and I built up a very successful business here in Scotland, providing applied behaviour analysis and support and services to children and their families. I'm a mum of 3. There they are, those guys over there. I've got 2 boys and a little girl as well. And I do consider myself an entrepreneur. I like that word. I like it better than businesswoman because I like the kind of creativity and forward thinkingness of entrepreneurs. I like the sort of playing big and thinking forward and just, yeah, embracing what life has to offer us and creating. I think that's part of it, isn't it? Like really being in that playful creation zone with that sort of relaxed trust that we're always trying to be in. I love travel. I was a backpacker for quite a while before I went to university. My parents had to drag me back, kicking and screaming, to actually go to university. I love beaches. I love adventures. And I love people. I love connecting with people. And it's my mission to empower women across the globe. I spent 15 years working and teaching children with learning difficulties, and that really had its toll on me emotionally and physically. And I got to a sort of tipping point a couple of years ago now where I was just like, something's not right and I don't know what it is, but something needs to change. And I hired a mindset coach. Had never even heard of a mindset coach before. I was very much like identified as a practitioner or clinician. And those 12 weeks changed my life. And so, yeah, that's Alfie. I forgot to mention Alfie. He's my sidekick. He's here right now with me. He's my lovely Labrador, and he's going to be 12 soon. So he's an old man. So yeah, that's me. Oh, and you might be wondering why Wonder Woman's over there. So this is who I want to be. Not her like specifically, but when I visualize myself as my best version of myself, this is what I like to look at. I've got a printout on my over in my office over there. I just love her. I think this whole image just, for me, it just represents empowerment and freedom and bravery and just all the positive words just melded into one. And I just think she looks awesome. So yeah, that's why I stuck that in there. Okay, so do you feel at the mercy of your thoughts and feelings? Like, just put a yes or a thumbs up in the chat box if you've ever been in that place where you just feel like your thoughts and feelings are controlling you, not the other way around, and you just feel like just sort of stuck in a spiral of feeling out of control. Like you're just riddled with these thoughts and feelings, and you're just like, you just feel out of control. Stephanie's like, yes. Fiona's yes. Sophie's yes. Yeah, you're not alone. I think everybody has been in this place at one point or another where you just feel like, I don't even know where to start. I don't know how to even process these thoughts or these feelings, because we are not taught this. We are not taught how to use our brains. We're taught how to read and how to write, and we are not taught how to process emotions and how to think purposefully. And really, somebody needs to start. I think they are maybe starting to teach kids, like with mindfulness and things like that, but we need to place more emphasis on it, in my opinion. Okay, how about this one? Have you ever felt like you're holding yourself back by not tapping into your potential? Like you just have this inner knowing that you are meant for bigger things and that you're absolutely not stepping into your full potential. Like you might be doing it a little bit, like dipping your toe in a little bit, but not fully and completely. You just know that you're holding yourself back a little bit. Claire's like, yes. Fiona's like, hell yes. Yeah, I think we've all been there. Okay, how about this one? Have you ever felt like building your business or your career, if you're not a business owner, just shouldn't feel this bloody hard? Like this is not the life you envisioned for yourself when you decided to start your business. Like you are not like the CEO you dreamed about being. It feels like you are an employee in your business, like just working all the hours, not being able to switch off, incessant mind chatter, overanalyzing, and it feels heavy, and it can feel exhausting, and it can feel relentless for very little reward. And you're like, why the hell does everybody else make it look so goddamn easy? Why does this feel so hard for me? Heavy. Fiona says heavy. Layla, exactly. Stephanie, yes, yes, and yes. Yes, you're not alone. Let's just imagine for a second being able to move out of your comfort zone and doing new things, but from a place of playfulness, curiosity, openness, and expansion, rather than that contraction and having to protect yourself, that state. I call it desperate guy at the bar energy. We've all seen those guys. They're just like lurking at the bar. And it's that sort of desperate, like, oh, I need to find a client. I need to make money, need. And it comes from a place of scarcity and lack. And it's that heaviness when you think of your list of things to do versus that sort of aligned energy where it should feel light and exciting. And you should feel open to possibility and creative with a sort of playfulness and a relaxed trust. There's a significant difference there. I'm going to help you get to this. get to this place. Fiona says, give me my light. Yes, I know. Okay, so here is the one thing I really want you to understand. And April, you'll be with me on this one because I know you're a fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza. When you set a clear intention, and by that I mean a very specific goal, you have a clear idea of your end goal, where you want to be, your end result. When you do that from an elevated emotion, so elevated emotions are things like love, passion, joy, gratitude, excitement. The low vibe emotions are things like frustration, confusion, hopelessness, sadness, fear, that kind of stuff. And there's a whole scale of emotions. So we want to be in an elevated emotion. And when we can do those things, those two things together, the combination of that clear intention, elevated emotion, from that place, you want to take inspired action, not looking at your to-do list, thinking, oh my God, I've got so much stuff to do. And you get that heaviness and you just think, I'll just go and do a little laundry load, or I'll just go and make a cup of tea instead. And then you're procrastinating. And that's a very effective escape mechanism. But from this place, when you can create this state, an elevated emotion, a clear intention, you take inspired action. You sort of are open to possibilities and you get those divine downloads. You're sort of getting those little light bulb moments where you're like, oh my God, I just had a really good idea. And from that place, it feels exciting and it feels really good to want to follow through on that action. That's when you can create your dream goals. I mean, you can do it from that hustle, heavy energy, but you'll be using sheer willpower. And take it from me, it's miserable. I've been there and it sucks. And you can get burnout really easily from that place. And then you just hate your business and you hate yourself. But when you can learn, and it is a skill, it requires learning. When you can learn to do this, the inspired action piece feels light and you feel excited and you feel like you're on fire. You feel like you just work 24/7. It's a completely different energy. Okay. I'm not going to go into this in much detail for the purposes of this webinar, but there are 3 parts of your subconscious brain that we use to attach meaning to things, and we use and what sort of like creates our states and our stuck states. So one is the use of language, and that's what we're going to delve into in this webinar. So use of language are limiting beliefs, which are pretty much thoughts that you've given a lot of attention to and you've played on repeat. They will solidify into a belief. So limiting beliefs, cognitive distortions, which are basically just broken thinking patterns. Examples of those are mind reading, predicting the future as if you're some sort of psychic, all or nothing thinking, thinking in black and white categories, confusing human being with human doing, making your self-worth basically meaning something about what you do in your profession. So confusing who you are with what you do. Discounting, so only focusing on all the crap stuff, not the positive compliments and reviews that you've received. Perhaps there's quite a few cognitive distortions, although I have managed to whittle it down to I think about 10 or 15 that I keep seeing with the women I work with. The second area in your brain is the use of your imagination. So this is where you will hold memories and experiences in place, and they will play out like movies, or you'll have images, or you might hold a person who's maybe played quite a traumatic part in your life. If you've had like an abusive partner or a really shitty teacher or like a crappy parent, like all that, you will hold them in place. And when you do that subconsciously, this isn't something you're aware of, but you will show up differently, because where you locate people and concepts, even such as time and places, affects how you feel. So that's for another webinar. The third area is emotions. So this is they're all courses in and of themselves, but emotions is basically the sensation or the relationship you have with the sensations that you feel in your body. Okay, so emotions, this piece here, it's basically talking about, do you give yourself permission to feel all the emotions, the good, the bad, and the ugly? Or do you feel something uncomfortable, fear, for example, and you're like, no, and you squash it down and you suppress it and you taboo it? Pretty much we all do this because, like I said, we don't enjoy feeling uncomfortable, and so we escape those feelings by buffering or numbing, overeating, over-exercising, over-drinking, scrolling on social media, like all of those things. We're experts at escaping or escaping feelings. But tonight we're going to talk about use of language. Okay, a little bit of brain science. Don't switch off here. I'll just make this really quick. So you have this conscious part of your brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, and you have the subconscious part of your brain. The conscious part of your brain is where you think up new ideas. It's where you do all your executive functioning, your planning, your organizing, your categorizing. And it really is the piece of us that separates us from animals. That part of your brain is amazing at being able to sift and sort and discern and analyze loads of information. And we use the conscious part of our brain to program new beliefs, because from that part of the brain, we can create new thoughts. The problem is we're only using it 5% of the time. 5% of the time. What happens is we're using the subconscious brain. And that is this lower part of the brain at the back. And it's primitive. It is literally being designed to keep you alive, and it's wired for survival. It's also like this storage facility. Imagine a huge warehouse, and it's like this storage facility for all of your beliefs. That's a lot of beliefs, by the way. And it does 95% of our thinking. It's just busy all the time. It never sleeps. It's just automating and recycling our thoughts. Okay. Here's an interesting stat. So we have about between 60 and 80,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot. 95% of them are recycled in your subconscious brain. 75% of that is negative. Our subconscious brain has a negative bias. And we have to remember this, because it's natural and normal for us to have a negative bias. It's literally how your brain has been designed. And it's only doing that to keep you alive and safe. It's got three main jobs, the subconscious brain. It's wired to protect you. And its main jobs are to avoid pain or fear, which is why we're all experts at staying in our comfort zone and playing it small. It's another job is to seek pleasure. So that's why we always want to get away from the bad stuff and get to the good stuff. And also its other job is to conserve energy. So the problem is with this is that when you are aware of your thoughts and you want to basically choose a better feeling thought, that requires stepping into your conscious brain. That requires energy. And so what most of us tend to do is, it feels a bit hard, so I'm just going to stick to what I'm used to and play it safe and stay in my familiar feelings of anxiety or stress or whatever it is. Your subconscious brain has been designed to read anything new, moving to a new area, starting a new job, starting a new business, anything new as dangerous. Okay. I love the Minions. Anyone else like the Minions? We have got an old brain in a very modern world. So back in caveman days, this was super useful, the subconscious brain, because if you stepped outside the cave, you could get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. So play it safe, go out together in groups, conserve your energy, seek pleasure, have sex and reproduce and, increase the population. So this was a very effective brain to have in those days. But in the modern world, the brain is still experiencing fear in the same way it did when we were confronted by saber-toothed tigers. But it's like anything that involves stepping outside of our comfort zone, perhaps selling or increasing your prices, for example. The brain still reads that fear as alert, alarm bells. What are you doing? This is potentially an unsafe situation, so don't do it because you could be judged, or they might say no, or whatever, like the list goes on. What we have to do, ladies, is remember that this is our brain just doing its job. And it's fine. I've got this. Thank you, brain, for trying to protect me, but I'm good. You want a banana? They're so good, aren't they? The little minions. Okay, what we want to do, this is it's like our mission. What we want to do is we want to get the thoughts that we want to think using our conscious brain automated in our subconscious, so that all of those really helpful thoughts that serve us, they're the ones that are getting recycled and automated in our subconscious brain, not the current crap ones that don't serve us. Okay, give me a little thumbs up if this is all making sense so far. I just love neuroscience. I'm a total geek. All making sense? Thanks, Stephanie. Rosa's giving me a thumbs up. Fab. Okay. Thanks, Sophie. Okay, so this all might sound really great, and you might be thinking, okay, so how? Like, just tell me how. How do I do it? Okay, first step, you have to pay attention. You have to get curious and practice stepping into the observer mode and start watching your thoughts. Okay? So, thoughts are just sentences in your head that your brain is offering you. And you can choose to accept them, which most of us do because none of us are taught this stuff, or not. Okay? They are sentences in your head that you can choose to accept or not. And I love this visual. I just think it's so good. So you need to step into observer mode by doing this. So I'm noticing I'm having the thought that I'm a failure. Sorry, let's start at the top. I am a failure. That's the thought, right? That's the thought. And then you can step back a bit. I am having the thought that I am a failure. Then you can step back again. I am noticing that I am having the thought that I am a failure. This is a skill. This is a skill. And it's so valuable. I would highly encourage you to practice stepping into that curious observer place and just watch what's going on in your head. So, in case you didn't already know this, you are not your thoughts. You are not what you think. When you think about your thoughts, you're moving into your conscious brain. So it begs the question, if you are not your thoughts, who are you? We're not going to go into that just now. But it really is about stepping back. And when you can do that, you are claiming ownership over your thoughts. They're not controlling you. You can see them for what they are. They are literally just sentences in your head that your brain is offering you. I love, if you've not heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza, you all have to rush out and buy his books. They're absolutely brilliant. But this quote is one of my favorites. So to change is to think greater than how we feel. To change is to act greater than the familiar feelings of the memorized self. And this is why it's hard. It's hard. Mindset work is hard because when we feel heavy emotions, all we want to do really in that moment is suffer in them. And it takes energy and effort to think greater than that feeling that you're in, to be able to step out of it and shift your state. And that's my job. as a coach is to help my women and my ladies I work with do that. So when they feel anxious and stressed and they're suffering in it, they feel at the mercy of their thoughts and feelings, it's my job to teach them to think greater than how they currently feel. So what we need to do is we need to recognize and feel the difference between being in our subconscious versus our conscious brain. And the difference is when you're in your conscious brain, it's that creativity part of your brain where you're thinking and planning, and you're really kind of being quite active in it. When you're in your subconscious brain, it's usually those lurking thoughts that you're not really aware of. You're probably aware of the feeling more than the thoughts. You might be feeling a bit shaky, for example, as you're about to press post on a social media post, for example, if you're trying to increase your visibility or starting your business, and you feel fear, and you might not even be aware of the thoughts. But when you do pay attention to them, it's all the what if people laugh at me? What if this isn't good enough? Who do I think I am? Like, it's all that stuff. That's the subconscious brain. So I'm a big fan of journaling because I feel like when you get it out from your head and onto paper and you see it in black and white and it's something tangible, even doing that can shift your perspective. It helps you step into observer mode because you can see it in black and white and really start catching yourself doing your problem thinking. And this is, I'm always telling my clients, like, this is not from a place of berating yourself or judging yourself, not at all. This is from a place of curiosity, like, oh, that's what's going on in my head. Okay, do I like it? Is it true? Does it help me? Does it serve me? 9 times out of 10, none of the above. So if this is new to you, I would recommend doing this just for 5 minutes every day. And even if it feels a bit clunky to begin with, and you're like, you're staring at like a blank piece of paper and you're like, I'm not thinking about anything. What am I thinking? Like, okay, let's think. What am I thinking? Like, that's a thought. I'm not thinking about anything. Or what am I going to have for dinner tonight? Like, these are thoughts. So just practice. What you're doing here is you're working out your attention muscle. And that muscle is the most important muscle in your body. You're going to practice using your conscious brain. Okay. Why is recognizing our thoughts and feelings so important anyway? Like, what's the point? Well, we create what we think. Look around the room, wherever you are right now, look around you and pick something. Like, I'm sitting in my dining room. This is my dining room table I'm sitting at. When we moved into this house, it was empty. And we had a thought, we better get a table. We started looking for and researching tables, and we had an idea of what we wanted. We had a pretty clear idea, actually. There's our clear intention. And then we were just scrolling through images of, tables, and we found one. I was like, oh, that's it. That's beautiful. I really like that one. Gave me a feeling. Okay, so I had a thought, evoked a feeling, bought the table, took action, and now it's here. I manifested a table. Manifest. I don't know about that word, manifest. I'm a scientist at heart, and it's a bit woo for me, but manifest just means to make real. I manifested this table by thinking, feeling, and taking action. And that is how it works. You have a thought about something, which evokes a feeling, which then you take action from, which then creates your results. So if you look at it backwards, if you don't like the results that you see in your life, then go back to your thoughts. We create what we think. Okay. When we clean up what we're thinking, we automatically change how we feel. Okay, so when we clean up how we're thinking, we automatically change how we feel. And when we change how we feel, we naturally take a different kind of action. And we're looking for that inspired action. And from that place, we create a different result. It's kind of simple, isn't it? So I love this this little model here, it's the tool that I really want to teach you tonight. It's called the thought model, which is a term coined by Brooke Castillo. And if you've been working with me for a while, you'll know that I'm a little bit in love with Brooke Castillo and that I highly recommend her podcasts, especially the first 10. Like, you'll look at it and be like, oh my God, there's like 400 episodes. The first 10 are binge worthy and they're all about the thought model. And she really has a way of explaining this so beautifully, really simple, in really simple terms. So I'm going to give it a crack. You have a circumstance. Now, circumstances are factual. There are usually external events like the weather or politics, things outside of you that you cannot control. It also includes people and your past. Can't control other people. Definitely can't control your past. And these are facts. So I love using the example of COVID. That is a circumstance completely out with our control that happened to us, okay? Then what happens is you have a thought about that circumstance. And remember, a thought is a sentence in your brain, a sentence in your head that your brain is offering you. That's how I like to define a thought. Thoughts are not facts. And this is where people often get a bit confused because they're so used to thinking the same thought, they believe it to be true. A thought is not a fact. A thought is a lens, it's a perception. From that thought, you evoke a feeling or an emotion. So an emotion is energy in motion. It's a chemical vibration in your body and it wants to move through you. It genuinely does. I like to imagine a wave like washing, like crashing over you. What happens is when we begin to feel an uncomfortable feeling, we resist it and we squash it down and we distract ourselves. And so we're actually suppressing that energy. We're not allowing it to move through us. And if you do that enough times for a prolonged period of time, that can turn and that can literally manifest into quite severe physical ailments. Thinking burnout here. My very first client I ever worked with in terms of mindset coaching was hospitalized with burnout. She was a lawyer and was told that she won't see her 40th birthday unless she makes some significant changes to her lifestyle. I mean, that's literally life or death, because she was not allowing herself to feel her true present state. Because most of us mask, we suppress the feelings, we suppress and taboo our real feelings, which are often things like sadness or fear, powerlessness, unworthiness. We don't want to feel that stuff, so we feel frustrated, confused, anxious, overwhelmed instead. And then from the feelings, we take action or inaction. So action are behaviors, things that we do based on how we feel, but they can also be inactions. So things you don't do can also be reactions. So that's when you sort of just explode. And I did that. I was telling a client today, I did that last week to my 4-year-old or now 5-year-old. It can also be decisions that you make or don't make, and those rapid fire thoughts. So that's quite a big one, the actions line. And then the result is the personal results that you are creating for yourself in your life. Okay, I'm going to check in with you all here, ladies. Give me a thumbs up if this is all making sense so far. Good, Fiona. Thank you for that feedback. April says good. Okay, it's all good. Perfect. Cool. Okay, so just going to move this out the way because it's a bit annoying. A little toolbar. Okay, so this is what you want to do on your bit of paper. You want to choose a circumstance. Okay, so it could be your husband, it could be your business, it could be your kids, it could be a colleague at work, anything. It could be the fact that it's raining outside. Keep it simple while you're practicing this. Choose a circumstance and write it down in the C line, okay? Then you're going to think the next line is the thought line, and you're going to be like, okay, what is my thought about this circumstance? You're going to have a few thoughts, more than likely. Write them all out and then look at them and see which one stands out the most. Which one are you charging up the most? And then write that thought down, one thought. And then think, okay, when I think this thought, how do I feel? And you might come up with a couple of different feelings. Try to just write down one feeling. It's okay if you have a couple. And then in the action line, you're basically going to write all the actions, inactions, or reactions you take or don't take from those feelings, that feeling and thought combination. And then the result is, what is this creating for me? What is showing up in your life? What have you manifested or not? Okay. And I've got examples coming up, so don't worry. But just a quick note on thoughts. When you're trying on thoughts, it's like you're trying on a pair of jeans. You know, when you get a pair of jeans on and you're like, oh my God, like they're awful. My bum looks hideous in these jeans. Like, no. And then you pick up another pair of jeans and you're like, oh, look how good I look in these jeans. They fit like a glove. That's what it should feel like when you're trying on thoughts. You try on a thought and you're like, no, it's not really doing it for me. Try on another thought. Just say it out loud. I always say to my ladies, say it out loud and notice there should be an energy shift of some form, of some sort. And be like, yeah, that does actually make me feel quite confident, quite energized. Great, let's go with that one. So just try on new thoughts, brainstorm lots of ideas, and notice, does that thought feel thinkable or does it feel fake? That's important as well. Okay, so a lot of the women I work with have a core limiting belief of, I'm just not good enough. And then when we're doing this type of work, they're like, oh, well, I'll just use a positive opposite. I am good enough. And I'm like, do you believe that? Is that believable to you? Or does it feel a bit fake? And they're like, it feels a bit fake. Okay, great. We're going to get there, don't worry. But let's create a baby thought. How about we try on, I've got this, or I'm capable. And they're like, yeah, actually, that feels a bit better. April says that's a great explanation. I get that analogy. I love the jean analogy. Yeah. Or you can do it like trying on a jacket, something like that. But just being aware of like, am I faking this? Because it has to feel genuine. You have to really feel like this. The purpose of this isn't just to complete the activity or the exercise. You really want to feel differently by the end of doing this. Okay, so this is how the thought model works. You have two types. You've got your unintentional model, which is this one here, and then you've got your intentional model, okay? So the unintentional model is like a snapshot of what is going on right now. You're literally stepping back into that observer place. And I'm a very visual person. I like to imagine like a little sort of quality control guy at the factory, and he's got his little clipboard and he's just like making notes. So this is an example, and she's here tonight, but I won't say any names, but this is a real life example that came from a coaching call this week. So here's the snapshot of what is going on, okay, for this woman. The circumstance was she had to review a landing page that she was creating. So her business coach had helped her create this, and the circumstance was she needs to review it and feed back to her business coach. So that's the circumstance. That's the fact. Okay, that's just the circumstance. That is what's happening. The thought she had was, I can't do it. I can't do this. That was the thought, which evoked fear. Okay, that evoked fear. And from that thought and feeling combination, she took inaction. She didn't review the landing page. Instead, she flicked through TV channels and she ate a chocolate cake, which is a very effective escape mechanism, right? Like we can all resonate with that, I'm sure. Like a lot of the time when I've worked with a lot of women who are like, well, you know, I did do other stuff that was productive. And I was like, yeah, but is it moving the needle forward, or are you just doing other stuff, like busying yourself to make you feel productive so you can have a sense of achievement? Like that was me. I've done that loads of times. I'm an expert at putting off the big things that would really move my business forward. And I'll just piddle about with the little things so I feel really busy. I can give myself a pat on the back. But the result is the landing page isn't published. And so therefore she's got no money coming in because clients can't see it. So that is an example of the unintentional model. It's just a snapshot of what's going on right now. Then what you want to do is write it out again, CTFAR, 5 lines. And this time you're going to write an intentional model. This is what you would like to see happening instead. The circumstance doesn't change, so she still needs to review her landing page. Okay, that's the circumstance. The thought she tried on, which felt pretty good, in fact, more than good, she really liked it, was, I know this, and I can do this. It's not a complicated thought. In fact, it's very simple. But when she really tried that on, and I don't mean just saying it for the sake of saying the words, but really leaned into that thought, she said she felt focused and in a state of flow. And I really pushed her. I was testing her, does it make you feel focused? She was like, yeah. She was like, I feel like I could just get going with it right now. So the action she can take from that place is review the landing page and feedback to her business coach. And the results from that is that it's published. And then she can get clients and money coming in, an established business. This doesn't have to be complicated. This can be really simple, but it really is about feeling. The feelings are the key, ladies. The feelings are the secret. That's so cheesy, but it's true. When you feel differently, you show up differently, and it's your actions that matter because they're the things that create the results. Okay, any questions? Any questions so far? Okay. All good, Stephanie, thank you. Okay. A note for those who have a tendency to fall into victim mode and you start blaming your circumstances or you start blaming other people for making you feel and think and all that stuff. The foundations here are you have to take ownership over your thoughts and your feelings and your actions and your words. It's crucial. You can't build a house unless it has foundations. And this, taking ownership, is the foundations of your house. You must feel a sense of ownership because your thoughts, feelings, actions, words, they're all yours. They're nobody else's. They're yours. Anything between your toes and your nose, that's yours. And other people, that's theirs. You can change any of this at any time. It is all within your power. And I know as I say that out loud, I'm like, that sounds pretty a bold claim. And I'm like, it's true. I absolutely believe that. We all have it within us to create whatever life you want for yourself. It all starts with a thought. Okay, a couple of rules for you for the thought model. Only use one circumstance at a time. So you can write out multiple thought models, but keep it clean. One circumstance, one thought, one word for the feeling line. But for the action line, you can put in multiple actions and then just one result. So when you're doing the intentional model, this isn't like a linear process. You can start at any line. So it might be easier for you to maybe start the feeling line. So you might be thinking, well, how do I want to feel about this circumstance? How do I want to feel about, I don't know, establishing my business or scaling my business? How do I want to feel? I want to feel really confident. Great. You write confident down in the feeling line. Okay, well, what do I need to think? Or what do I need to believe? Or what do I need to think to feel confident? Try on a few pairs of jeans. Try on a few thoughts for that. You can also do it you can start at the bottom, write down your results. I want to create a successful, thriving online business. Probably need to be way more specific than that, but you know what I mean. Okay, what are all the actions I need to take to make that happen? I'm going to need to learn how to use software like Kajabi, for example. I'm going to have to learn how to be visible. I'm going to have to learn to create an email list. I might have to learn how to use paid advertising. I'm going to have to, there's going to be lots of actions that you need to take in your business. And I was saying to a client today, write them all out. And as soon as you're aware of the, yeah, but what if? Yeah, but what if? But, any buts, any what ifing, that's your subconscious brain. Like, oh, the alarm bell's gone off. Like, what are you doing? Thinking about something new, because that's not safe. Let's stay in our predictable job, which earns us a good salary, because that's safe. But all you need to do is recognize, first of all, that's your brain doing its job. And second of all, these are just obstacles, right? Like all of those actions that you need to take to create a thriving and successful online course or online business, whatever it is, they're all obstacles that you convert into strategies. And that will probably require a lot of learning and a lot of failing. That's the nature of it. Okay, that's the game. Don't make failure mean something about you. Always hold on to that. Don't make your mistakes or your failures make it mean something about you as a human being. Your self-worth is intact. I'm going off on a huge tangent here, but just putting that out there. Okay. Yes, you can start at any point in this model. It doesn't have to be linear. Okay, moving on. You want to stay in curiosity, not judgment. Judgment's like super glue. Don't use this work against yourself. Okay, don't do that. I love this sentence stem. I'm noticing my brain is offering me the thought, fill in the blank. It just immediately helps me step back into that observer place. They're my thoughts. 100% I own my thoughts, but they are not me. And that helps put you at choice point. You can choose a different thought to think. Okay. I really need to do another whole webinar on feelings, but we need to learn to allow any feelings that might come up without resistance. And you do that by paying attention to the physical sensations in your body. You press mute on the thoughts and the stories that you're telling yourself and whipping yourself up into a frenzy because of that. And you just simply label how you feel. For example, okay, tightness in my stomach. Yep, prickly sensation on my skin, sweaty palms, increased heart rate, restricted throat, or whatever it is for you. Like, you need to turn into like a human thesaurus and just start really zooming into the adjectives that describe the physical sensations you're experiencing as part of this emotion. And when you do that, and you've pressed mute on all the thoughts and stories that it's like pouring like petrol on a fire. When you do that, you just escalate the emotion. But when you focus on labeling the physical sensations, what you'll notice is that it will slowly start to just dissipate. You'll feel the emotion moving through you. And you really just notice that dissipating is the best word I can describe. And there's a Harvard professor called Dr. Jill Bolt, and she's done a study on emotional regulation. And she says it only actually takes 90 seconds for an emotion to pass through us. 90 seconds. Imagine if we were all taught this. But it doesn't take 90 seconds for the majority of us, because we're too busy pouring petrol in the fire and like charging up these emotions, because we're like rehearsing conversations and our brain's looking for evidence to back up the feeling. So this is another little side tangent, but really important to say. One of the main cognitive distorted thinking patterns I see with the ladies I work with is called emotionalizing. And that is when you have a feeling and then you recognize the thought behind the feeling and you believe that thought to be true because you're having the feeling that corresponds to it. So you have the fear comes up and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be judged. I'm not good enough. And you're like, yeah, I'm feeling this anxiety. I'm feeling this fear. Well, it must be true. I'm not good enough. So you believe your thoughts to be true because you have a feeling. And we've got to really catch ourselves doing that. Because just because you have a feeling and a corresponding thought doesn't make it true. You're just having a thought that's evoking a feeling. Sit with the feeling. Don't rush out of it. So I was telling a client recently, don't rush out of your feeling to jump to a thought model as an escape from the feeling. I don't want to feel this feeling. Quick, to a thought model. No. You sit with that feeling for as long as it takes to dissipate, because what you resist persists. And that can, I think it'll be a lot longer than 90 seconds for the majority of us. Because like anything, like any new skill, it's going to take practice. But focus on labeling the physical sensations. Give it a go. Okay, how do we signal to our brain, once we've done the intentional model, how do we signal to our brain, this thought's really important and I really want to get it automated and recycled in my subconscious brain? You do this by repeating that thought, the one you tried on, like the pair of jeans, the one you've just created. You do it by repeating it and repeating it and repeating it, but not robotically, not just like going through the motions and saying the words or writing them down or however you want to do it. You have to get that energy shift. It's that feeling piece that's crucial. And the more often you can do this with the feeling piece, the quicker it will install into your neurology as a belief. So you want to repeat your new thought, and you can do it saying it out loud, writing it down, reading it, saying it in your mind, as much as possible, but feeling into it. So I like to, I call it dead time, you know, like if you're in the shower or you're doing laundry or you're sitting in traffic, but kind of dead time, that's when I do my thought work. That's when I do the majority of my thought work. And I'm just like practicing my new thoughts to install them as beliefs. So you want to think, feel, then act. So before you take action on your business, before you look at that action line, you're going to pause and you're going to invest some time in inducing your state first by thinking your new thought and feeling that energized confidence or motivation or focus or whatever it is. And that's what nobody does. Nobody takes the time to do that bit. Everyone's just like, oh, where's my to-do list? What have I got to do today? Oh. Pause and do the thought and feeling work first. And from that place, take action. I promise you it will make all the difference. Okay, remember, action can't trump negative thoughts. You cannot action your way out of negative thoughts. Definitely clean up your thoughts first and your feelings, and then take the action. It is so worth it. I'm like so annoyed I spent years actioning my way out of my thoughts because I'm not really a procrastinator. I go into overdrive. I'm an overperformer. I'm just like, I like to do. And that was my escape mechanism. Doesn't work. Okay. We're nearly there. Not quite. I've got 5 minutes. Perfect. I wanted to keep this an hour long. Okay, we're nearly there. So self-regulation. To me, self-regulation is the key to creating a happy and successful life. That really is, to me, like that is the definition of self-regulation. If we are able to experience any and all emotions, I believe that's true freedom. And I don't believe it's about being in like unicorn and rainbow land 100% of the time. That would be weird. I believe that I believe life is meant to be 50-50. And 50% of the time we're over here in the crap feelings, and 50% of the time we're over here in the good feelings, because we need that contrast, right? Like, how can you experience happiness if you haven't experienced sadness? The difference is with self-regulation is that you don't have to suffer over here in the rubbishy feelings. You have a way and tools to shift your state. So you can experience grief and sadness and frustration and anger. You can experience all those emotions, but you don't need to stay stuck in them. shame, guilt, resentment, overwhelm. So self-regulation, the ability to create your own emotional state based on you deciding what it will be, rather than just like reacting to your external circumstances. You actually step into the driving seat and decide, I am going to feel XYZ today. And you induce that, you create that through your use of language, imagination, and what's the other one? Your emotions. Okay, take home points, then we'll do some Q&A. Please don't just wait for things to happen in the world. We get one life, just one, and it's not a dress rehearsal. Decide ahead of time how you want to feel. Be intentional about it and become the architect of your life. Just imagine you're the architect and you're like, okay, great, get a big bit of paper out. What do I want? What do I want to create in my life? It's typically the hardest question for people to answer. It's one of the first things I talk about with my clients. I'm like, what do you want? They're like, well, to feel less anxious, to feel less confused, to feel less. I'm like, whoa, this is away from thinking. What do you want? And they're like, never thought of that. Yeah, like go there, have fun. No worry, Manuel, see you soon. She's got to go. Yeah, actually have fun with this and think about it. Like, what would I like? If my success was guaranteed, what would I be doing with my life? If I didn't have to worry about money. And I'm not trying to belittle that. Like, obviously, we're in a financial global crisis, but you've got to think bigger first. And then remember, your brain's going to be like, oh, but obstacle, obstacle, obstacle. Great, let's turn them into strategies. If she can do it over there, you can do it over here. Any questions, ladies? That's a wrap. Yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it, and definitely let me know if you've got any questions about anything we covered in this webinar. I'm happy to answer any questions. If you want to unmute, unmute. If you want to type in the chat box, do that.
Also incredibly useful to me today. Thank you, Gemma. Yeah, I've got got so many thoughts going through my mind right now. I've taken pages and pages of notes. So yes, it's now just going back and reading them and journaling on them, because I believe in journaling as well. So thank you very much. It's been absolutely mind-blowing.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. That's so kind. And I'm so glad you found it helpful. And I'm so glad it was worth getting up at 6:30 in the morning for. I'd feel pretty bad if it wasn't. Oh, I'm so glad you could make it. Roz says, Gemma, is there a chance to see the recording of this again, as my internet kept knocking away? Yes. So I think many of you might have seen my posts. I had a little bit of a technology nightmare this week. I won't go into the details of that, but you can imagine what that felt like. Talk about managing your state. So I'm going to be emailing out the recording to my entire email list, because it didn't tag the people who registered to the webinar. So if you're on my email list, Roz, yeah, I'll be sending out the recording tomorrow. You can watch it back, no problem. Sophie, yes, can't wait to speak to you on Monday. That'll be good to have a chat. Matilda, thank you for coming. And Roz says, thank you. Super cool. Oh, I'm so happy that you all enjoyed it. Like I said, I just love talking about mindset and the quantum physics and the neuroscience and what I can blend into it with my background in behavior analysis. I just love it. So yes, I'll be sending out the recording tomorrow. And you know where I am. If you've got any questions, email me. I pretty much live on Facebook, so you can message me on Facebook. And yeah, take care until the next time.
Thanks, Gemma. You're an inspiration.
Oh, thanks, lady. I appreciate that. Thanks, Fiona. Thanks, Layla. Thanks, Matilda. Okay, see you soon, everybody, and take care.